This skull is in a museum in Paris. 6 soldiers with guns went and got it.
Every big number you've heard for this thing came off a jawbone, times a ratio nobody ever justified.
Hollywood, we need to talk.
A curator at the Natural History Museum in London watched the Mosasaurus in Jurassic World and led with the most obvious problem. It's the size of a blue whale.
The blue whale is the largest animal that has ever lived, not the largest reptile. The largest animal ever.
And no, it couldn't have swallowed something the size of a T-Rex in one go.
I know, that's the whole scene. Here's the part nobody mentions. We don't have a Mosasaurus, not a whole one.
This animal is known almost entirely from skulls and jaws. There's no complete skeleton of a big one anywhere. So every number you've read, the 17 meters, the 12 meters, all of it is a jawbone with math done to it.
Which is fine, that's the job. But the number is only as good as the math.
Hang on to that. Because there's one piece of this animal nobody has ever been able to draw honestly. Not once. I'll tell you what it is at the end.
I brought a tape measure. It's going to have a rough day. October, 1778. Quarry workers cutting chalk under a hill near the Dutch town of Maastricht hit a skull.
The land belongs to a clergyman named Goding. He takes the skull home and puts it in a cave behind his house.
As you do.
There's also a retired army doctor in town, Johann Hoffmann. The animal ends up named after him. Mosasaurus hoffmanni. There's no evidence he ever owned it or found it.
2 centuries of literature, carrying the name of a man who never had it. November 1794. The French army is outside Maastricht. Goding takes the skull and hides it somewhere in town.
A French official shows up and says he'd love to study it. Then he sends 6 armed soldiers to go take it.
In 1795, it arrives at the National Museum in Paris. It's still there. Now you've probably heard a better version.
The famous one goes like this. 600 bottles of wine to whoever finds the hidden skull. 12 grenadiers carry it back, undamaged.
That story comes from one Frenchman, writing it down in 1799. Historians have picked it apart. The wine didn't happen. Neither did the lawsuit that supposedly took the skull off Hoffmann. Same author. Invented. What the story did do was make a robbery sound like an adventure. 600 bottles of wine is a much better line than we took it.
In 1800, a naturalist named Camper figures out what it is, a giant sea lizard.
8 years later, Cuvier publishes the full study, an enormous marine lizard, related to monitor lizards, unlike anything alive.
That last part is what moved the world. Not a living animal. Not a bigger version of something you could still go find. Gone. This skull is one of the specimens that convinced science extinction is real.
Before that, extinction was an argument. After that, it was a fact with an address.
It didn't get its name until 1822. Mosasaurus, lizard of the Meuse, after the river. Hoffmann's half came 7 years later.
Not a dinosaur, by the way. It's a lizard. We did a whole episode on another animal that isn't one either. Okay. This is the good part. So where does 17 meters come from?
1967. A paleontologist named Dale Russell wants a body length out of a jaw, because jaws are all we've got. So he uses a ratio. The lower jaw is 1/10 of the animal.
He doesn't say why. There's no justification in the paper. It's a working number. And working numbers harden into facts if you leave them lying around long enough.
1995. A researcher takes a partial jaw from Maastricht, runs Russell's ratio, and gets 17.6 meters, 58 feet.
2 problems. The bone was 90 centimeters of real jaw. The 160 centimeters he called complete. That was a guess too.
And he applied the ratio to the body without the head, when Russell meant the whole animal. That single mistake adds 10%.
So, an estimate times a ratio nobody justified, applied wrong, stacked.
2014. A jaw from Russia, 171 centimeters long, gets the same treatment, 17.1 meters.
But there was a better yardstick sitting right there, a near-complete skeleton of a close relative prognathodon, where you can measure skull and body on the same animal. Total length comes out about 7 times the skull, not 10 times the jaw.
2024. A team runs that same Russian jaw again with the better ratio, 12 meters.
Same bone, same animal. 5 meters shorter, because somebody finally checked the multiplication. Tape measure snaps back.
So let's put them side by side. Real Mosasaurus, best number we have right now, about 12 meters, 39 feet.
The blue whale skeleton hanging in the Natural History Museum in London is 25.2 meters, about 83 feet. That's the size the movie is going for. So, roughly double the length, which sounds like they were only a little greedy.
Except animals aren't lines. They're solid. A little more than twice as long, in all 3 directions, is somewhere between 8 and 9 times as much animal. That's arithmetic on a length, by the way. Nobody's put this thing on a scale.
They didn't make it twice as big. They made it 8 or 9 times as much creature. And the real one did not need the help.
12 meters of predator with a shark's tail turned upside down, 2 lobes, and the big one points down.
We know because some relatives got buried with soft tissue still on them. One preserves the bend in the tail, built into wedge-shaped vertebrae. The movie swims it like an eel. This thing swam like it had somewhere to be.
Tight, snake-like scales, so the water slides right off it. 4 paddles. No legs.
We think it gave birth out in open water. Nobody's ever found a pregnant Mosasaurus. But we found relatives with babies still inside them, and newborns far out in deep water. And those babies came out swimming. No nursery, no beach.
Terrible sense of smell, though. You can read that off the brain case. So it wasn't sniffing around for corpses. It hunted with its eyes.
We have exactly 2 of these animals fossilized with dinner still inside. One had a fish in it, a meter long, longer than its own skull, torn to pieces first. The other, near Maastricht, had the acid-etched bones of a baby sea turtle. A museum volunteer found that one. The fossil is named Lars after him.
And the movie got something right. Those extra teeth on the roof of the mouth are real. Every mosasaur has them, for holding on to something that's still fighting back.
Credit where it's due. This isn't the first time we've drawn it wrong.
Through the early 1800s, people drew it as a webbed-footed, clawed thing that could haul itself up onto land.
1854. Schlegel settles it with finger bones. Flat, broad, locked into a paddle, with no attachment points for the muscles you'd need to walk.
Around the same time, London built a life-size one in a park. Boxy head, lizard scales, because that's what the science said. And the sculptor built only the head, the back, and 1 flipper, then sank it halfway into a lake. The old explanation is he was hiding what nobody knew yet. One historian thinks he ran out of time and money.
That isn't a scandal. That might be the most honest sculpture in London. Which brings us back to that missing piece.
The tail fin had an upper lobe. We know it was there. Nobody knows how tall it was, or what shape. Nothing we've dug up answers it.
Every mosasaur you've ever seen, that piece is somebody's best guess.
2 more still open, its closest living relatives. Monitor lizards or snakes. Scientists still argue, and there isn't enough evidence to settle it.
And whether it was warm-blooded bone tissue. And oxygen isotopes say yes. A 2018 study on one of its relatives pushes back. It argues the growth rates are too slow for that, and that it was just big enough to hold its own heat. So the tape measure comes out one more time. Not for the animal, for the skull. That one fits.
12 meters, hunting with its eyes, and as far as we can tell dropping live young in deep water. Nobody needed to make it bigger.
So which one bugs you more? The movie inflating it, or everybody repeating a ratio nobody ever justified? For half a century. Tell me below. That ocean had other monsters in it. We'll get to them. Subscribe, and keep your facts straight with Stick and